Gentlemen!
As you see the waif standing there, both hands on the railing, to the left of the forecastle.
What we've come to do is done. And as your captain, it's my duty to say that you all did adequately.
There's like a little rumble of laughter that goes through. And he says,
It looks like another group of landsmen is in our debt.
and a few of them like, hey! A lot of them are silent. And then there's like a long pause. And a few of them kind of look at each other as he's just looking down at everyone. Zog, you're looking down, and you see the exotic crew, the lizard folk, as a tongue comes out and like licks his eye and goes back in his mouth. You see I2 back there with the tentacles just kind of like wrapping around his face as he kind of like bats him away. See Mermaid standing there, like sitting on a barrel that's like about to burst at the seams as he's like breathing really heavily. He's a horrible mouth breather. As he takes off his hat, kind of like rubs his bald head and puts it back on. And you see Azra standing there like a willow, her scarlet skin very dark and looking like blood in the gloomy haze. Sigrid the drow and the other motley crew. And he says,
I've heard word that some of you are not particularly happy about my decisions. Understandable. I promised bounty. I promised booty. I promised loot. To become the dominant force in the Morning Sea. To be feared far and wide. The armada of the Waif. Some of you say that I have not delivered. Well, to you I say, you are fools. You could be sitting on stolen silks and spices, merchant wealth. Small. Your sight is small. The wise of you will have seen my true gift. I give you the sweet brine, the timber rush, serpent's tongue, Black Moon Bay, the richest ports in Ovana, each of them being indebted to us. Once upon a time, worthless pirates, no better than brigands, to hide in the darkness of the Morning Sea, behind the mist. Now, we can go where we want. We'll have lands, titles, gold enough to sink our ships. But the foolish of you have murmured. And for those who are so short-sighted, I don't think there's a place for you on my crew. Azra!
the whole crew is just dead quiet, and everyone around the hobgoblin steps back, and she stands there isolated, kind of looking around.
Yes, Captain. Oh, I'm Captain now, am I? I thought that was a title you wanted for yourself, you traitorous bitch. Why not tell everyone here what you whispered? You thought I didn't know, did you? Each of you who bears that cut upon your left hand, I know each of you. So who would you rather follow? One who wishes for you to remain the pitiful, worthless pirates that you were before, or the one who has elevated you to the height that we will now enjoy for years?
And he begins to list names. And each of the names that he calls out becomes isolated by the crew, some of them being pushed out as if no one wants to be anywhere near them, to be tainted by their reputation.
What a poor sight. As for each of you, you have a choice. be dropped to the bottom of this miserable freshwater coffin and die with some dignity left. Be exiled with a black stain upon your palms to never board another ship again and live the rest of your meager lives as a filthy landsman. Or 3. Take 99 stripes with a cat, and if you survive, remain here with me. But one of you, I'll make your decision for you. Azra, I think we're gonna find out how fast hobgoblins sink.
And she immediately looks around her, and she brings up her hand and mutters an incantation under her breath. And at the same exact time, you hear 2 voices on either side of Yusog, Danny and Malseus, each muttering a similar incantation. Danny's in the tongue of the Ivori, Malseus the infernal tongue of the devils, as this anti-magic rips down from the stern of the ship and cracks into Azra's meager spell, and it shatters like glass upon the deck. Everybody kind of like takes a step back, looking around, wondering what the hell that sound was, and the waif never even flinches, as he just...
Take her.
And immediately, Aitu, who's just been walking up behind her, brings out his staff, and those tentacles just grow like 10 feet long, wrapping their way around her and squeezing her. She's like, "Wah!" As a tentacle goes around her mouth, completely incapacitating her, and her voice cuts off. And without needing orders, all of the mutineers move towards Azra and begin lashing the heaviest bits of rigging and tools that they can find to her.
Exie just watching.
Okay. Laden down with any kind of heavyweight accoutrement that they can find, Azra is led to the edge of the ship, still bound by the tentacles from Aitu's staff. The waif follows up behind her.
Let this be the last time anyone dares to question the path that I would put all of you on. The riches that I would give you. The favor that I would bestow upon you. This old way dies now.
And he nods to Aitu, and the tentacles slowly unravel themselves from Azra's face. And she's breathing heavily, obviously terrified, but giving this like last-ditch stance of defiance as she looks around and says, "You could be more than this. He has taken you down to be sycophantic fools. To the people who run this continent, to the cities here, to be in their pockets. His dream isn't of yours, but it's to rebuild his reputation as a captain of the fleet of Seagod. That's what he wants, a navy. He'll leave all of you for the soldiers who have reputations, for the sailors who once sailed as his friends. Don't you see he's already replacing you? With Arthur Wayman and the captains of Seagod who came to his banners, you are all becoming second class to him. But if that's your will, then have it." And the waif turns and snaps his fingers, and Aitu brings out his hand, and these huge tentacles, wrought of pure water, just come up, grab her, and bring her down over the railing, screaming "Ah!" as she falls into the water with a splash, and is just sunk all the way down. And the water just immediately goes quiet again as all the ripples die unnaturally fast.
So, a choice now. The lash or the land.
And what follows is several minutes of pleading for mercy, for forgiveness. Some of them claiming that they were forced into this, that they had no other choice. But each of them that bears the small scratch under the palm, a symbol of, if one of us falls, we all fall. Of a binding secret. Not deep enough to scar, but deep enough to bind them all to this mutiny that they had built. And for the next hour, the lash falls. this long, bone-handled whip with 9 tails, all of knotted hempen rope, and in each of the knots you see a piece of bone about this long, cut and sharpened to points on either side that just rips the flesh open. 2 sailors die under the lash. I'm gonna throw them overboard. Unceremoniously, without words, nothing. 2 more survive. Their backs just a ripped, shredded mass of flesh. You can see it quivering and moving in pain as blood, now starting to clot and scab, not running as freely as it once was, as they get up, and their friends, whatever friends they still have at this point, hold them and immediately begin rubbing salt water into it to get whatever infection out as they scream in pain, and then they douse it in liquor and wrap it. The other 4 choose exile. And to them, the waif takes a poker, heating it over a torch until it's hot, and searing into their palm a black spot that will forever taint their reputations as sailors. And they are escorted off to swim the rest of the way across the river to the bank.
When the lashing started,
Uh-huh.
Bexy would have kind of like snuck away,
Okay.
trying to find a cabin, and she's actually just gonna start tinkering and making bullets again.
Okay.
She doesn't want to watch the lashings.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's
I think Kit will
awful.
too.
Okay, sounds good. And you're given like, a first person account of this manner of life, just swift justice of the sea, of pirate code, of loyalty and trust, and their odd sense of honor. Do you watch Zog?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what happened.
Dude, that was awesome storytelling.
Alright.
Thanks, guys.